on, guys? It's Hank from NORAM Tactical. Welcome back to the channel. I've got a pretty good one for you guys today. I'm here with two volunteers who have been fighting over in Ukraine. We're going to do a quick kit breakdown and as well as discuss kind of what their job duties are over there. So without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome, guys. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for bringing all your cool stuff. First off, let's kind of talk about what you guys do over there and how long you've been doing it, and just kind of go through in as much detail as you can, kind of break that down for us.
You want to start?
Sure. So I am primarily a combat medic. However, I've also been cross-trained as a mortar fire controller, which is basically a very specific forward observer, which involves spotting targets for mortars. But I'm primarily a combat medic. I first arrived in Ukraine in March of 2022 and more or less stayed there ever since, up until relatively recently when I came out here to Norway to visit NORAM.
Sweet.
Yeah, I've been working together with for the past 2.5 years, give or take. Same role, working as a medic, right? Combat medic, so a lot of field work. We did the same mortar course together, so I'm
Fire direction controller?
Fire direction controller, right. I'm the guy with the tablet who punches in the numbers. It's not that tricky of a job, but it's kind of fun when you see the implications and how you can apply this in different roles.
Cool. So if you guys can kind of give the audience a little bit of a synopsis of what the battlefield is like, if you can, and some of the things that, whether it's drones or anything that it could be that kind of gives you guys an advantage or disadvantage.
Well, I'd say it's hard to give one synopsis because it's constantly changing. Especially drone warfare has evolved very, very quickly over the last 2.5 years. And so there's always new threats and complications popping up. If you go back to like early mid-2023, Russian drones were only really a thing in terms of them using them for reconnaissance and artillery spotting. And a year later, now we're in an environment where you get within 5 clicks of the line and you're going to get swarmed by FPVs. So I'm sure that there will be new man-made horrors beyond all comprehension coming to us very soon the next time we go out.
The Dragons are a good example of that. The Dragons are the FPVs that carry, are they magnesium or?
Thermite.
Thermite, and they'll fly them over trench lines and they'll use them to kind of burn the foliage. So it's like the Ukrainian equivalent to Agent Orange.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's not nice, right? Field stuff, especially for guys like us, right? It's become more difficult. The infill and exfil has always been the most dangerous, stressful, dangerous, but it's just increased incrementally, right? It used to be in like mid-2023, as long as we were wearing nods, we could get in and out pretty easily. There were maybe a couple of units who were like a little bit cooler that had thermal drones, but now, everyone has thermal drones. So even infilling at like night is problematic. This is why people usually infill at dusk or dawn. This is when thermals are the least effective. So in terms of us, right, you might have a drone team working adjacent. You might be lucky enough to have a drone operator on your team, and that can give you, better battlefield awareness. You might be able to use it to adjust your mortar fire. You might be able to use it to communicate. You might be able to use it to resupply. So drones in themselves have become like a staple of this conflict, and they probably are not going anywhere. They're here to stay.
Gotcha. And kind of as we discussed at the range day, I was kind of picking your guys' brain about how drones are being used on the battlefield. And you guys brought up a lot of interesting points, how it's not necessarily the drones that you guys need, it's mostly the anti-drone that you guys need, how to take them down. And you guys also kind of discussed utilizing drones as a medevac system. Could you guys kind of break that down and elaborate that a bit?
So for the first part, there's just this constant cat and mouse game with drones and then drone countermeasures. So the Russians will have their normal drones. We come up with a drone jammer. The Russians will start sticking a bunch of satellite antennas and other stuff on some of their drones. We make a bigger drone jammer. The Russians will put fiber optic wires on their FPV drones, so now they can't be jammed, and there's really not a good answer for that right now.
Gotcha.
So,
Right, Russians are not usually the guys who drive innovation, but we'll come up with something to defeat their countermeasures. They'll come up with something to defeat ours, and as they said, it's a cat and mouse game.
Gotcha.
As for us, I would say like countermeasure-wise, the drone detectors, they're kind of known as the Sukarok. It's this little drone detector. I think it's made with a Raspberry Pi. It'll tell you what if there's a drone in your general vicinity. Then there's the good old shotgun, right? Birdshot, great for FPVs. If a drone with a dropper system is hovering at 300 meters, you're not going to be able to hit it. So that's that. And then there's your like backpack jammers or the drone guns.
Gotcha. And I mean, a lot of these drones, I don't have a lot of experience with drones, but I mean, some of them are moving pretty quick. I mean, especially like if you're using a shotgun, for example, with just birdshot, and you got a pretty fast FPV. Now, I mean, you grew up shooting birds, I'm sure it's one thing, you could probably be fairly accurate, but how difficult are you guys finding it to actually be effective against these drones that are moving at quicker speeds?
So for my part, I've never carried a shotgun in combat, right? I've never actually been a designated drone, anti-drone gunner. I do know that some of our sister units, they were using like automatic shotguns, like I think it was either the Fostech or one of these AK style shotguns, and they're using it to good effect. What they do was, might not go into the exact tactics of it, but they would set up in a way to an advance, and they'd take out maybe 15 to 20 drones just off the bat. So you can be effective with these things, but compared to shooting skeet, right? When I'm shooting skeet, the skeet is going in one direction. These can change direction, right?
That's a pretty important factor to count in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, as for the medevac stuff, Ukraine now has moved to using a lot of UGVs to move both supplies and people.
And what exactly is a UGV?
Unmanned ground vehicle. So it's basically a platform with tracks on each side and then a set of sort of like a metal frame. So you can either attach stuff to it or tie stuff down. And it's very helpful in terms of getting extra supplies with you to a position or evacuating people from a position, because you can load up a stretcher on one of these and just roll it. So rather than having 4 to 6 people carrying the stretcher, you have one drone and just a guy with a controller that runs along the ground, and I really appreciate those.
So those are pretty effective then?
Yes, the main issue is limited battery capacity. You only get about maybe 2 kilometers at most out of them.
Okay.
And the batteries are quite large, but I'm sure that'll improve over time.
Gotcha.
Right. If you think about distance travel, right, your 5 clicks to 8 clicks from the line are going to be pretty hairy. And if you're carrying one patient on a hard stretcher, that's between 4 to 6 guys, right? So that's 4 to 6 people, maybe including a medic, just to evac one person. You can do it with less if you have a skid, but still you want people to swap out because it's a large distance, right?
Mm-hmm.
So being able to employ these systems effectively, it kind of takes a load off of like, how many people do I have to take out of this defensive position in order to evac? Or how many people do I have to bring in, right? If you're bringing in 7 guys to move one patient, that is a big target, right?
Right.
Another one is drones for resupply. So we've been working on a little system. It's basically it looks like a small grenade dropped from a drone, but it can carry like 6 to 8 ampules. So the idea is if I'm caught out, I don't have ease of resupply. I run through all my narcs, I run through my TXA or different drugs. Then I can have a drone come out, drop what looks like a grenade, open it, and it's kind of like a pretzel can, right? Pop it open, and I got my ampules in there.
Cool, okay. Now, I'm also curious, I mean, since both sides have drones and a lot of them, how are you guys able to distinguish friendly drones from non-friendly?
Yeah.
You can't.
Okay, so I mean, how exactly are you guys on the fly kind of assessing which drones are, because I mean, like you said, if there's a drone that's dropping ampules for you, I mean, and it looks like a grenade, I'm sure your butt starts to pucker a bit just to hope that that's actually a friendly drone, right?
Well, I mean, for that, there's less of a concern, right? Because first of all, it might have fins on it, but it's not going to look just like a normal grenade. And the other issue too, right, is that you've also just called up and asked for this.
Yeah.
And they'll tell you, hey, it's coming in like 20
So
seconds.
you have good comms coming back and forth?
That depends.
Well,
Okay.
let me put it this way. If you don't have good comms, you're not asking for someone to send you something, and they're probably getting jammed pretty heavily trying to send the drone over. So
Makes sense.
So the idea is, right, we want to have overwatch constantly. So the TOC has some kind of view of what's going on the ground. And you might not be able to call out a Moscow, but someone in the TOC can see it's a Moscow, right? So it's redundancies, right? What protocols or what procedures do we have in place in case a certain situation happens? Of course, drones overhead, you don't really know there and then, so you react the same if it were a friendly drone or a non-friendly drone. Basically, you take cover or you start moving faster, right, depending on what your TTPs are. but you try to, negate the effects if some ordnance were to be dropped on you. FPVs, on the other hand, right, there's not going to be any friendly FPVs hovering over you if,
It may make sense.
yeah.
And you said Mascal. Just for the audience's sake, could you specify what Mascal is?
So Mascal is the incident. It's something that's very common in Ukraine, just because of the intensity, the weapon systems being used, and also the problems with evac. Mascals have become kind of a staple, at least for our career, right?
Things explode in places you really don't want them to, and it ruins your day.
All right. We actually have a talk on this. We try to define like a Mascal on the tactical level, or as a systems approach. Systems being, we have a hospital, we have a couple ambulances, right? The hospital is being overloaded, or the ambulances are being overloaded. So this is a systems problem. On the tactical level is, how many people can I have injured before we're combat ineffective, right? Once we're combat ineffective, we're not going to continue on the mission. So this is technically a Mascal, even though it wouldn't wouldn't be the same in like a systems approach. It still is a Mascal, at least for the guys on the ground.
Gotcha. Okay. And just one final thing before we go into the kit breakdown. Can you just kind of, for the audience, describe what is the most danger to you guys on the battlefield? Is it frag? Is it direct fire? Is it air support, tank support? What are you guys seeing based on your experiences is kind of the most dangerous, or what's making you guys the most combat ineffective on a daily basis?
It's all frag all day.
Frag?
Yeah. Of all the well over hundreds of patients we've treated, almost all of them have been blast related, so TBIs, frag injuries, and you had like one GSW.
Yeah,
total.
I had one GSW at one point in time, right? And that was because we were pretty close to the line. It was a recce unit that got under like direct fire.
Mhm.
But other than that, it's 90% frag.
Wow.
And you can see the way we set up our kit, right? We have, Kevlar on our sides because of this. He doesn't have it with him, but it also, crotch protector.
Makes a lot of sense. That's one place you definitely want to protect. Okay, well, appreciate you guys kind of talking us through that and your experiences. So that being said, let's get into the breakdown. All right, so getting into the breakdown, we'll start with you. Kind of take us through why you have your kit set up the way you do and what exactly you got going on here.
All right, so this is an L4 Performance, L4 PC. It is still very clean because while it was ordered before my last deployment, it only arrived after, thanks to the magic of Ukrainian customs. I have used it for a couple of training events now, and I am very, very happy with it. It is incredibly comfortable, and I just think overall it's a very, very good design. The plates that I'm running in it are Ceradyne ESAPIs that are fairly old, as well as some Ukrainian armor, soft armor backers. And then on the sides, I have the MTAC soft armor that just Velcros on to the inside of the cummerbund. Up front here, I have a suspiciously accurate knockoff of the Tracer Tactical Scout Compact. And the reason I have this, I started setting this up when I was still with the Recon Battalion, so I was anticipating spending a lot of time outside and wanted to have the ability to carry 5 to 7 mags on my plate carrier. Going forward, I'm probably going to be doing more evac stuff, so I'm likely going to swap this out for something that carries 3 to 4 mags and just takes up a little less space. Finally, over here, I just have my knife in case of emergency. There's some stuff missing from this because I had to travel from Ukraine to Norway on a series of buses, which was not the best, but as part of that, I had to strip this down to make everything fit in my bag, so some stuff like my IFAC, it was just taken off so I could make everything fit. Now, the coolest feature of this plate carrier is actually built into the back here. This is a full-on soft litter that unfolds from the rear plate bag when you rip up this handle. I'm not going to rip it off now because it's a bit of a pain in the ass to put back together, but basically this portion unfolds upwards and comes over the back of your head, and then the bottom portion unfolds and goes down most of your legs as well, so you can get 4 to 6 people on this and use it as a full-on litter to carry someone, and I just think that's a really nice feature to have. And if you get hurt.
Sweet. And you said this is made in Ukraine, correct?
No, this is not made in Ukraine. L4 Performance is a Finnish company.
Okay.
However, they do ship to Ukraine for free because they're very supportive. A lot of their gear designs are actually informed by foreigners that have served in the Ukrainian military. And according to them at least, about 60% of all of the plate carriers they've made are in Ukraine right now. It's quite popular there, and honestly, I understand why. It's actually compatible with the Cryo-AVS harness, which I was originally planning to use, but didn't because it actually is very structural already and bears weight very well. And after I got it set up with just the stock cummerbund, I didn't really feel the need to add the harness on because it was already quite comfortable.
Awesome. All right, let's move on. What do you got going on over there?
So I have a JPC 2.0. My old plate carrier was a Mayflower APC. They had it for like 8 years, so I finally had to swap it out. Things were starting to get, a little moldy. I still have some remnants of the old Mayflower, like the shoulder pads. I showed you at the shoot, I showed you just now. The padding is completely gone, so I'm gonna have to replace these soon. I had the chance to run this. I still have some remnants of blood here and there, but luckily not too noticeable. So for me, I'm running a 3-mag placard right now. This is just because we were doing some shooting and I had to put some 7.62 mags in it. Otherwise, it's usually 4. It's Shaw Concepts. I got it off a friend. I really like it. I like the low profile. I have a lot of stuff in like my dangler. I have a lot of stuff in the Faro admin pouch on the side, so I like having it a little bit more slick just so I can get in and out of stuff. I also have side Kevlar. As we said earlier, like 90% of the people we've seen that don't have side Kevlar have some kind of, fragmentation to the flanks. So, keep your internal organs intact as much as you can.
Makes sense.
Yeah, right. So 4 up front, 5, 6 up here, 1 in the gun, and depending on if I'm running a pistol belt or not, or rifle belt. I also run a fanny pack, same right? So it sometimes becomes tricky to run the belt together with the fanny pack. So I don't always wear my belt, so I like having, at least the ability to carry a little bit more mags up top. Now, in terms of the dangler, this is an Agilite dangler. I really like it. I like the ability to put both my shears and a tourniquet down here. I've noticed the shears have a tendency to fall out from the, tourniquet holder, so I'm trying to figure out a better way to put them. I used to just put them up here. Yeah, I also have Kevlar here. This is from Ballistica. It's a Ukrainian company. You can find them in Kyiv. You can find them in Odessa, Dnipro. They make just basically cheap Kevlar add-on parts. I have modified this rig a bit because it also has the MTAC cummerbund, Ukrainian company. I like it a lot. It's cheap. It's durable. It comes with rock buckles, so I had to do a little bit of jury rigging here. This is the Faro spear tube set. Fits nicely on the placard and just a little bit of work and it fits on the cummerbund. Yeah, also Ballistica side Kevlar. You see, I really wanted his set. I didn't have the money right then. So as you can tell, I've kind of just zip tied in and just looped this Kevlar, which is supposed to go on something like a 3-band. And I just, jerry rigged it to fit.
Just made it work.
I mean, it works. It works. As for comms, doesn't have his set with him, but we're running, are they S23s or S23 Tacticals?
They are S22 Ultras.
S22 Ultras, right. And flip down here, I have all my data, right? So we can either be sending data over ATAC, we can be sending it over some of the Ukrainian derivatives. There's also Medic Tool, which is something new. The idea behind Medic Tool is that I can have everyone's data already plugged in before. I have everyone's blood type before. I know who's the donor for who's a match for who. Also, if someone goes down, I can immediately just press a button and the data will be sent over straight back to the talk and we know someone is down. If everyone's running the same kind of GPS system, a tracking system, then we know where they are on top of it, right? So these are some tools that we've been playing around a bit with. Medic Tool especially. So I think this is kind of be like the way of the future.
Sure.
It was explained to me, like everyone in SOF, they have like their app, right? The breachers, they have their app to calculate, right? Their explosives. Snipers have like ballistic calculators. So it's about time that us medics got like an app for ourselves, right? So it's actually being developed in Norway. If you have the chance, if you're in Ukraine and you want to test it out, you can go on the App Store, download it. It should still be on Android,
just the Google Play Store. Beyond that though, normally it is an app that you need to pay for. However, they are offering free access to anyone using it with a Ukrainian phone number. So if you are a medic looking for something better than just a bunch of casualty cards that you keep losing, give it a shot.
Yeah. Also, the last point, I have a Gerber knife on the back. Again, zip tied in. It works for me. It has happened that, you know, a little bit tight space, I might snag on stuff, but for the most part, it's been fine. As you can see, these radios don't send voice, so I will probably have another radio up here up front if we are outside, so I can have like limited spaces where I put my knife.
Gotcha. Sweet. All right. Well, thank you guys. Why don't we move into the helmets? What do you got going on here?
So this is a Protection Group Denmark Arch. I believe it's a Gen 2. It's a okay helmet. I don't really have any huge problems with it beyond the fact that it's a bit heavier than something like a Team Wendy or an Opscore. And then the helmet cover is from Abrams. It's a Ukrainian gear store. Then for hearing protection, I'm just using Peltor Contact XPIs. I have this neat little cable management system that I got from Rejome Systems. And then I also have my nods. I'm lucky. I have dual tube BNV DSGs. They're very nice. They have very good tubes.
Elbit.
I'm happy. Yeah, Elbit Systems, 2400 FOM.
Yeah, as for me, similar setup. I have a Hardhead Veterans. On the inside, I have the Protection Group Denmark padding. I don't have a mic on this set, but it's they're Peltor's XPIs, I think. Right. We run the same set of nods. I just don't have them with me right now. So in the back here, I have a battery pack. It's kind of small. You can't really see it. And then here's a cable. These are cheap knockoff, what are they, G24s?
Yeah, these are Chinesium Wilcox G24s that are made out of the exact same material to the exact same dimensions and cost about 1/6 the price.
Yeah.
They haven't broken yet, so.
Yeah, they work. One thing I did do though, I have some extra retention clips up here. Just, I personally find the G24 to be very wobbly. If I were to get the money, I'd probably go over something like a Naruto's. As for the scrim, this is a little bit of jerry rigging. So I have the same helmet cover underneath, and then I found these like surplus USGI scrims or scrim nettings. I forget where I found it, and then just threaded a bunch of burlap through. What's nice is, yes, it's full coverage, but I've cut it in specific places, zip tied it so that I can actually have my contacts on. I have room for my shroud, so this has worked pretty nicely for me. It, you know, doesn't look like a helmet, so it's actually fulfilling its function, right?
And just for the audience, the reason why you would want to add a scrim to your helmet is purely to break up the silhouette of your head or that helmet shape. So, you know, you see it all the time in the industry. A lot of people aren't wearing scrims, and that's totally up to you. If you're in an urban environment, you probably don't need it. But if you're outside, especially like if you're here in Norway, for example, where I would say 90% of the country is woods and forest, probably makes sense to throw a scrim on or try to break up that silhouette a bit.
I mean, you see it also, more and more soft guys are using things like the Cry assault ghillie, right? Like these leaf suits.
Mm-hmm.
Just because if you ever sat in a talk or if you ever have any time on a drone, it's very easy to notice a person, right? That silhouette, very noticeable. So adding, I don't know, maybe like a little dump pouch with like a leaf suit, adding some extra scrim, it really goes a long way.
Sweet, sweet. Well, with that being said, I think we can move into belts and other gear.
Great.
So just a few last pieces of kit here. This is my belt setup. All of this is actually made in Ukraine. This is an MTAC Tiger or Tegris belt. Cost effective, and it's worked pretty well so far. I'm quite happy with it. And then for things attached to it, I have a glove hook. I have a double pistol mag pouch from MTAC, a rifle mag pouch from Tour Gear, and then a dump pouch from Tour Gear. All of it's worked pretty well, and I'm generally fairly happy with it. Not shown on here is my holster. My previous unit, I had a Stechkin APS, and I used a ATA gear retention holster for that, which is now collecting dust because I will probably never touch one of those pistols again. I personally like running a relatively low-profile gun belt because another thing I didn't bring with me is my first line medical bag, which is basically a large fanny pack, and I can't really wear a belt bigger than this and also wear that bag and be able to swing it around easily. That's the reasoning behind that. Then here, shameless plug for Norarm, is my Norarm multi-purpose hooded Kandahar combat shirt. I was actually given this. It was generously donated by them back in September 2022. I have used it for almost every single training rotation and deployment I have had in Ukraine, and it has held up great. I'm very impressed with this shirt. It's really comfortable. It's kept me warmer than I expected during the winter months, and unlike a lot of my other gear, it isn't falling apart. So yeah, I'm very happy with it, and it has served me very well.
just before we kind of close everything up, to the audience and for them, if there's a way that they can help you guys, or if there's a way to get gear to you, different types of product, what would be something that they can do to help you guys out, and how could they do that?
So you can find us on Instagram, Response Global. We should have some details coming up on our Instagram soon about where you can donate. Right now, we're fixing to go back here in a little while. We'll be back out working. We'll be back out giving you guys updates from the front line. Also, if anyone from the more professional side wants to talk to us, we have a 4-hour-long talk on mass cals in Ukraine. It's a mix of different cases, planning and preparation side. If anyone from the professional side wants to have us come talk for them, we're more than interested. Just shoot us a message on Instagram and we can get to it.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for coming out, going through your kit, and having an awesome range day with us out there.
Oh, yeah.
Guys who are watching, thank you so much for watching all the way through. You guys are the real MVPs, and we'll see you next time.